Well, good morning, folks. Bobo's back with you here. So, I want to take a moment here, take a pause, if you will, and talk to you about an individual that I really admired, a comedian named Bob Newhart. I just learned last night that he had passed away. And boy, it really saddens me because I just admired his humor, that deadpan humor of his. And there have been several folks like that I've tried to emulate through my life, writers, comedians, um, individuals that I really look up to, and Bob was one of the early ones. I first saw him in a movie called Hell is for Heroes, a black and white film from the late 50s, early 60s. And he was an admin clerk that got lost, and they stuck him in a bunker to keep him out of the way of the fighting. And he had a part that was just hilarious. You get a chance, you want to see an early movie that really is quite interesting. Look up Hell is for Heroes. Then I saw him later on the Ed Sullivan Show and variety shows through the 60s. And I just loved the way he would come in, sit down on a stool, pick up a phone, and have a conversation. And you had to create images in your own mind. And that to me was just brilliant. And then later on, I saw him in his own sitcom. And again, just watched him with true admiration. So, Bob, thanks for the inspiration over the years and for the entertainment. And I certainly will miss you. Okay, that being said, when my mom passed away in 2001, I flew down to San Antonio and we had her service at the funeral home. And we had folks set up to arrive at 4 o'clock for the service, and surprisingly, she had quite a few people show up. She had been retired from work as a civil service secretary out at the base. She was the secretary for the Air Training Command Surgeon Generals. So anyway, we had people from her neighborhood show up, people from her work showed up, and people from her family, her nieces and nephews, and so forth. Maybe 60, 70 people there at the funeral home when service began. They asked my brother and sister if either of us wanted to speak, and neither Bill or Debbie wanted to say anything. Well, of course, I had a couple things to say. Who knew? Okay. So I'm sitting outside the the chapel, and I had no idea what I was going to say or how I was going to say it. Not a clue. And about a minute before the service was slated to begin, an idea came to me. So I collared Joey, a very, very dear friend of mine that I flew with, and I said, hey, give me 30 seconds, and this is what I want you to do. When I stand up to speak, give me 30 seconds, and then it's your part. And Joe says, you got it, brother. So we all go in, sit down, and I had one, or they had one of the neighbors talk about mom, and then they had a couple people from work talk about her, and one of my cousins stood up and spoke on behalf of the family, and then I was introduced. And I'm going to try to recapture. It's been a while since I thought about this, but you'll get the idea. So I walk up and I kind of stand there a minute, look out over the congregation, and I said, folks, my name is Bobby Holliker, and I am Gary's oldest son. Now, she went by Gary. Her name was Ruth, but she went by Gary because her last name was Garrison. So anyway, they called her Gary. And I said, I'm Gary's oldest son. And first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming this afternoon. I know it would have meant a lot. And about that time, my phone rings. So my phone rings, And I pull it out of my pocket and I look at it. And I'll tell you what, this was hilarious. I look at this phone and then I look up at the congregation and I saw all kinds of reactions. I mean, it was just, yeah, I was having a ball. So I said, if you don't mind, I probably should take this. So, I mean, I couldn't hardly look at the congregation. So I said, hello. And then I said, Mom, how are you? I said, we were just talking about you. I said, it's so nice to hear your voice. I said, how have you been? What do you mean in processing is a pain in the neck? I said, I thought that would have gone relatively smooth, really straightforward. Oh, they asked a bunch of questions about things you left behind. Well, I'm sure that's okay. I said, you won't need them up there. So I said, what are your living quarters like? They're heavenly, you say. I said, well, God tells us he's going to give us a mansion. Have you got yours? 3 of them. Oh, goodness. Okay, that's fine. I said, one should be fine for you. And then I said, is Sally here? Just a minute. And I looked out over the congregation. I found Sally. Now, you have to know, Sally was always late. Mom used to spit nails at Sally being late. And so I said, yeah, Mom, Sally's here. I said, we told her the service was at 3:30 and she showed up at 3:45, so she got here in plenty of time. Uh-huh. Is Mike wearing a tie? Mom, Mike never wore a tie when you were alive. Why would he put one on today? Yeah, but Mike's here. And he said to say hi. I said, hey, Mom. I said, have you seen Dad? Now, you need to know this is a bit of an inside joke. My mom did not like my dad at all. She just really struggled with that character. But I said, hey, Mom, I said, have you seen Dad? What do you mean he's not registered? Ooh. So I talked a little bit more about a couple of other things that were personal in nature and some things that the neighborhood people could relate to, some people at work could relate to, and touch base on a couple more personalities. And then I said, what is it, Mom? I said, you have to go. Well, okay, I said, they're having a sale at the Heavenly Mall, you say. Okay, well, I don't want to hold you up for that. I said, I'll talk to you again someday when you walk through my mind. And that's when I almost lost it. Matter of fact, I'm feeling it now. But I said, I'll talk to you again when you walk through my mind. And Mom walks through my mind all the time today. I hear her saying, now, Bobby. Or I'll hear her say, Bobby, you were taught better than that, or this. She was a special person for me. And Bob Newhart helped me put something together that I thought was fitting for her, that was respectful. And so, Mom, if you see Bob Newhart, please say I told him hi, and I'll see you all soon, I suppose. Okay, take care. So that's kind of the way I left that, and then I went back and sat down. My sister told me that she was sitting in the congregation. A Baptist minister was sitting behind me. She said he didn't know whether crap or go blind when I was talking. I wish I'd have seen that. I would have said something like, if I'd have seen that, I'd have said, just a minute. And I'd have turned around and said, Mom wants to know if you want to talk to the big guy. But well enough alone. So after the service, we all gravitated back to the house, and I had this one lady. It was so gracious. She came up. She said, Bobby, she said, you were so real with that conversation. I thought you were actually talking to your mother. And that really touched me. And then another gal come up, and she said, listen, she said, that was so neat. She says, would you do mine? I got 3 bookings out of that shtick, and yeah, I pulled this off a couple times since. It is always kind of interesting to see the reactions, and sometimes if you're not in the right crowd, you got to get into that shtick pretty quick because there's some people out there that don't see the humor in it that I have. So with that being said, I'm going to add a PS to this here. I told you my mom and my dad didn't get along real well. He could be the kindest, most nastiest individual, and you just never knew what dad you had when you walked into the house. It's just the way the household was at times. But he could be so funny, um, unbelievably funny. Before he passed, he told my mom that he wanted to be buried at Fort Sam, Houston, there in San Antonio. And he asked her, he said, listen, when the time comes, will you ask them to put me near the fence at Fort Sam? And mom walked right into these things. She says, why is that? He says, because that way, he said, when you're on your way to the mall, you won't have to stop. You can just take the flowers, heave them over the side. Now, who would think of that? Just heave them on your way over the side on your way home or on your way to the mall. He says, I don't want to inconvenience you. Anyway, a little bit of madness in my family. Yeah, they told me it was dysfunctional, but I didn't know it. Hell, I was immersed in it. So with that being said, good to see everybody this morning, and say a prayer for Bob Newhart. He certainly gave us a lot of laughter, and we need that. We need that today more than ever. So that being said, this is Bobo. Great to see everybody. Base gear. Stop.